that. Even more disturbing is something that happened a week ago Sunday. I was in Albertsons, and there were four individuals of some species there, mid-20s, all wearing a black t-shirt with four letters on their shirt in bold red. First letter was F, the last letter was K, and it was not spelling fork. They were handing out cards, not unlike you'd get from Panama Joe's advertising their services. And I asked them what it was, and they said, well, we're a band. Where are you playing? Across the street in Seaport Marina, which Councilman DeLong holds as the owners are model citizens, the type that we need here, and was championing building even a larger forum for them. I think the city needs to get inside of that and address a policy. If we have people like that, that's sending a wrong message. And I understand the message given what has happened to Belmont Shore and what has been ushered into there over the last 3 or 4 years by the councilman for the area.
Thank you, Mr. Peter. Your time is up.
Thank you.
Moving on to Mr. Dave Pillen.
Good evening. I'm Dave Pillen. I'm the president and CEO for Mental Health America of Los Angeles. Last week, the City Council met to approve moving forward with the environmental review for the reuse of Schroeder Hall for a police substation and the Burnett site for Mental Health America's homeless healthcare program. First, I want to thank the Council for moving forward on what has been a very long and drawn-out process. That having been said, I feel the need to address the full range of unfounded allegations and misstatements about MHA and the individuals that it serves that have resurfaced as a result of that meeting. I'm here today to set the record straight for both the Council and those in the community that continue to attempt to undermine both MHA's and the city's effort to move forward on this project. Since 2008, when the City Council approved the legally binding agreement that provides for MHA to develop the Burnett site for its homeless healthcare program, we have consistently offered to consider other sites that would permit the use and that are appropriate for operating our program. MHA has not wavered in that position despite what has been asserted. Several years ago, an excellent site for MHA's program became available on Long Beach Boulevard. The city initially offered to provide funding for that property, but unfortunately later withdrew that offer. Over the last 3.5 years, the city has not offered any sites to MHA where it could locate its homeless healthcare program other than Burnett. So it's beyond reason to blame MHA for not finding another site. I find it disheartening that there remains opposition to a program that will provide mental health services to individuals in need. Our work gets people off the streets, helps them regain their physical and mental health, and many become productive members of our community. But a vocal group remains ignorant of our work and mischaracterizes the individuals we assist. While the Burnett site is nearly 900 feet from the closest residential neighborhood, some in the community continue to paint a picture of our program's presence as leading to increased crime and endangerment that is simply unsupported by the numerous studies that indicate that homeless individuals are no more likely than housed people to commit crime. Just read the flyers and emails that have been circulated on and off during the BRAC process. They are intended to spread fear, target individuals with disabilities, and profile them in a discriminatory manner. At this time, MHA will cite its homeless healthcare programs at the Burnett site, according to the LBA. But if the city offers a different property where MHA may cite its program with the same guarantees that apply to the Burnett site, MHA will certainly consider it. And in regard to moving forward, there have been several statements about the city's lease agreement with MHA for the Burnett site, asserting that conditions of operations will be imposed that, among other restrictions, will control how individuals come and go from the program. Any proposed conditions that treat MHA's program and the people we serve differently from other like businesses raise serious problems. Our program is very similar to the city's health department, which it hopes to partner with in providing services to the community. We anticipate that our clients will come and go for services by a variety of means, including public transportation, just like those who go to the city health department.
Mr. Pillen, your time is up if you just want to wrap it up. But
Sure. Just to say, I appreciate the opportunity to address you tonight and be happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Pillen.
I don't have questions, I just have a statement. That is, I don't know that it would be best to allow individuals to walk in and out of there. And we can have that conversation at a later date. But again, my concerns are for the neighborhood.
As are mine.
Good.
Thank you. Any other members? Any comments? Seeing none, thank you for coming to address us today. Our next public speaker is Ms. Shirley Broussard.
I have a request, Mr. Garcia, being that I'm the last speaker and there are 30 minutes allowed, I'm asking for consideration beyond the 3-minute limit.
We try to keep all the speakers at 3 minutes, but go ahead and start. When you're close to wrapping up, we'll let you continue.
God of Freud, Hitler, Darwin, Mother Teresa, Oscar Schindler, Mahatma Gandhi, you are with us today, and your presence has already been allowed and acknowledged. As I wrap up today, what I hope to be a series of speakings that I believe you have authored, just implant what has been said over the duration of the last 2 months in all of our hearings, in Jesus' name. Our mayor, in his absence, spoke at the prayer breakfast earlier, the YMCA Good Friday breakfast, and he said that the most difficult challenge in public life is to avoid lost opportunities, disappointing conduct, and a lack of courage to stand up for the right thing. He said that he himself have missed opportunities, and there have been times when he himself did not stand as tall as he should have. But he acknowledged that in the end, we would all be judged by how smooth and how wide and how navigable we made the road for those who come behind us. The homeless are part of that group who are coming on behind us if they don't die in the street. This week or the coming days, a plane will pass through the streets of Los Angeles. And we being part of the citizenry of this country, have given this object a thing that cannot thank us, cannot acknowledge us, or do anything in our efforts towards its sustenance. Will pass through the city, and we have given it a lifetime commitment. It only deployed 3 missiles, satellites. It only had 25 missions. It was only in space for 296 days, 3 hours, 34 minutes, and 2 seconds. And now we have retired that object, for which we have spent $2.2 billion. The average homeless person has worked more than 296 days, 3 hours, 34 minutes, and 2 seconds in his lifetime or her lifetime of working. Have we given it the same commitment? The average homeless person has contributed to something that we have memorialized, but now they are no longer able to contribute. How is it that the winter shelter will not be open and remain open this year? How is it? We have acknowledged the disabled people this month, but I would love you to take a look at a person who is not only disabled, but they are also homeless. That's a pitiful sight.
Ms. Broussard, if you could wrap up, that'd be great.
In each of your communities, I believe before God that you are responsible for the homeless. He has authorized you to make decisions for those people in their communities also. In his mind, they are also a part of the landmark of this city. Dr. John Lermer, in his book, Embraced in Light, he is in charge of one of only 2 of the largest hospice hospitals in the United States. And he has sat with people who have spent their last few days and hours on earth.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Broussard.
I invite you to read that book.
Thank you. Moving on from public comment, now I'd like to ask for a motion, please, to approve the consent calendar for all the items. There's a motion and a second on the floor. Is there any public comment on any of the consent calendar items? Seeing none, please cast your votes.
Motion carries 9 votes yes.
Thank you. Moving on, we're going to go ahead and move on to any other, let's see, we just did the consent calendar, so we're moving on now to the regular agenda. And so we're going to begin, Mr. Clerk, with the first item.
Item 6 is a report from the Office of Vice Mayor Robert Garcia, Councilmember Gary DeLong, Councilmember Patrick O'Donnell, and Councilmember James Johnson with the recommendation to direct the city manager to explore the creation of a Business and Economic Development Officer position and report back to the City Council within 90 days regarding the feasibility and cost of the new position, and provided that note that existing general fund dollars would be used for this position.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. I'll go ahead and start off with some comments, and then certainly if any of the other co-signers would like to speak or any other members, we'll go from there. Back in 2007, the city developed an economic development plan for Long Beach, and it really comprised of 3 major things. The first was to make Long Beach the most business-friendly city in California. The second was to create additional jobs for Long Beach residents. And the third was to support and strengthen our local neighborhoods. The Economic Development Bureau, as it formerly was known here in Long Beach, was primarily responsible for implementing the plan. I think as we all know, back a few years ago, the city, we eliminated the Development Bureau and moved many of the Bureau's functions to different department staff at the city manager level as well as throughout the city. However, given the current economic climate, I think now is really a good time to reevaluate this, think about what is good for Long Beach when it comes to recruiting and retaining business. And certainly, I think as we all know, the city manager in its current office has done a pretty good job of trying to maintain some of our economic development functions. And these have included a variety of things, including our industrial development bonds, our hiring vouchers, our sales tax sharing agreements, infrastructure investments, and so forth. In addition, I'd like to point out that the mayor's office is also focused on economic development, with a lot of business recruitment and focusing on preference contracts for local businesses, which I know this council has supported as well. What we have today is the city has a unique opportunity to move forward on economic development in a new way. There's a lot of opportunities in the city for new tech, green, and creative businesses, and certainly in the new economy sector. I think that we're all interested in always recruiting new companies to make Long Beach as vibrant as possible, as well as obviously advocating for businesses that are already here every step of the way. What we're asking for today is for the council to consider asking the city manager to come back to us with a plan to restart our economic development program with bringing on a new economic development officer. A new program overseen by an experienced officer would be the tremendous help to our local economy. A new economic development officer could serve as not just a liaison to business, someone that would assist them in maintaining and expanding their business growth and outreach, but also someone that is an ambassador that's out there recruiting new businesses, talking to high-tech companies, trying to bring people here to the city. And again, much of this is happening, but we have nobody in a full-time role that is actually focused on this per se. In addition, we'd like to see this new position serve as a ombudsman type role. So for example, if a business owner is having problems or having an issue maybe in some level of opening his or her business, that person could call this officer, and they would help cut the red tape if there is any here at City Hall in that particular process. And so I do want to point out that our city staff has, I think, have done a great job of making Long Beach more business friendly. This council has done a great job of that. I think this is another opportunity to move that forward. Again, this is a position that we'd like to see at the city manager's office. And to close, I just want to say a few things. Long Beach is clearly one of the big cities in the country. We have more people in our city than Atlanta, Miami, New Orleans, Cincinnati, a lot of cities that people out there think are big cities. Yet we still have no official economic development position for the city of our size or any type of office or bureau. And just as an example, I mean, Atlanta has its own state charter local economic development authority. Cincinnati has a staff of 14 people just focused on economic development. And so there's a lot of opportunity here. So again, we asked the manager to come back, kind of give us a proposal, and then we can decide at that time. So with that, I'd like to make the motion.
Second.
There's a motion and a second, and I do have a speakers list. Councilmember Johnson.
Thank you, Vice Mayor, for bringing forward this item. I do think it's important that within our fiscal constraints, we are as supportive of business as much as we can be. Obviously, businesses not only provide the services we all rely on in the private sector, they generate the dollars that generate the taxes that support the police department, fire department, libraries, etc. So it's very important both for our own interests in enjoying these services and having a robust economy, but also, frankly, to sustain our own services in terms of quality of life as well as public safety that we encourage those businesses. I think the greatest value here is really having one contact. I think we already do quite a bit of economic development, and I certainly want to acknowledge our city manager and his team for that. But I do think if we have one point of contact that could have some value to people who maybe feel lost in the system. I'd like to ask a question to management. One thing I think is very important is that we figure out how to do this without having a negative fiscal impact on our city. And I just want to hear from you. I know from our previous conversation, you were bullish that you'd be able to do this within our current fiscal constraints. Maybe you could just give us an indication of how you'd be able to do that, or maybe how you'd be able to bring back a plan to do that?
Vice Mayor, council members, we feel very confident that we can come back within the time frame allocated to come back with a revenue neutral opportunity that meets the needs of the council. So we're here to listen what the council puts on the floor, and then we can come back with something we hope meets your needs.
All right, well, thank you very much. And once again, thank you, Vice Mayor Garcia, for bringing this forward, and looking forward to seeing this come to fruition.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Andrews.
Yes, thank you. I also like to thank the Vice Mayor for bringing this item, to the diocese because business recruitment and economic development is so vital for our city, and we do not have anyone, right now to answer the call when opportunities knock. So, in revenue, we know it's neutral, and I support this item 100%. And I thank you again, Vice Mayor, for bringing this forward.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Neal.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. I have a couple of questions. I think the concept of this is something that we definitely need, but I also have a couple of requests for the city manager. In regards to this particular position, it's been stated that it's going to be something that's economically neutral, so I think that is a true desire of the council. I would like to acknowledge the work that has been done by your office. I think in light of the current situation, your office has done a great job in doing that. But as I look at this item, I have a couple of concerns that I would like to see addressed in the proposal that you bring back. One, if we're going to really go down this path, I think there needs to be some real attention to the needs of the entire city, meaning that economic development in downtown is far different from economic development in North Long Beach. So I'm hoping that what this position will do will be able to address some of the real needs and issues of small business owners up in North Long Beach, for instance, who really need somebody to get down into the weeds with them as far as addressing what their needs are and coming up with a comprehensive plan on what economic development is for North Long Beach. This city is very diverse. There's very different needs in different parts of the city, and what I would like to see is something that is going to address all the needs of the city. So I can support this item, but I really like to see something comprehensive that addresses the small business needs and business needs of North Long Beach.
Thank you, Councilmember. And also, just to note, I think what we're asking for tonight, obviously, is for the plan, right? So that whole plan and everything you're talking about would come back to the city manager's office for this council to review. Councilmember Austin.
Thank you. And I think this is a great idea. Conceptually, I am on board. I have a few concerns as well. In light of this is coming on the heels of a very contentious budget exercise that we just came out of a few weeks ago. The city manager, I'm fully confident that we'll be able to pay for it, and it's going to be revenue neutral. But the first thing that came to my mind when I saw this agenda item is, how do we pay for a new economic development officer? This is actually, it looks like it's creating a new position in the city. A position, I might add, that the deputy city manager served in such role just a short time ago, I believe, last year.
And so we actually did have someone serving in that role. I don't think it was